everybody. A long due, but we're doing our coffee and cash flow. This is Paul from Better Call Paul and Perry from Perry's PIIverse. And yeah, we've sort of been so busy over the last several weeks. This has been a whirlwind, I'd say 1 month. We want to talk about it since the last time we did a coffee and cash flow, which, Paul, if I remember correctly, it was only 2 or 3 hours before we did the blossoming in the park here in Winnipeg. When you came to Winnipeg, that's the last time we did it. And it's about time, even though we had several opportunities to do it in person. So
yeah, true enough, Perry. Yeah, that was our 1 year anniversary. Hard to believe it's been a month.
Yeah.
It's been a month since our 1 year anniversary, and I finally hit 11,000 subscribers. So
I saw that. I saw the message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, my son was asking if we were going to buy champagne, and it's like, well, slow down a minute. Maybe when we hit 15 or 20,000.
Yeah, 15 or 20 is champagne. Yeah, so.
Yeah. 15,000 might be sparkling wine.
Yeah. We'll get sparkling bubbly water. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because honestly, like you and I, both our channels, our subscribers really exploded in the first several months, but it's really now much slower. Like, I don't know about you, but I've noticed getting up to the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10 is a lot slower now than it used to be. And again, not only because maybe we're sort of hitting a critical mass, but I have to admit, you start running out of topics to talk about, and it's like, okay, he's basically talking about the same thing in a different way, and maybe the people that you've attracted are now attracted. The people that you're not attracting are not. So I think we're at that next phase in our channel evolution where we're trying to reach out into different, further outside the comfortable zone of covered call income investing and trying to find what that next topic is that sort of goes one step further. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. And I don't know if you saw, but Gary Gill, I think he just hit like 25,000 subscribers. So, maybe we have to have a
talk with him,
chat with Gary and find out what the trick is. But maybe you have to put like $1 million in MSTE
and then bitch about it the whole time.
And talk about it every couple days.
And it's so funny. I don't know people that watch the YouTube channels and don't know the effort and the analytics and the psychology that goes behind content creation. But honestly, it's so funny because if anybody does know how YouTube channels work, there are certain emotional triggers that actually draw in a lot more viewers. And the ones where you're like,
oh,
yeah.
In your thumbnail.
Yeah, in your thumbnail. That usually draws more people. Believe it or not, people, you sort of are attracted to disaster and fear. But and I'll say Gary does it very well with his MSTE editions. So
he does. Well, I guess Gary has kind of like a marketing background, right?
Does.
So he's definitely very good at what he does. And honestly, Perry, I don't look at the analytics too much. I don't worry about that too much. I'm just sharing what I share, and I love having opportunity to talk with people like you, and even just talking with Kevin from Winnipeg and how he invests, and get into conversations where everybody learns a little something from it. What has he done that's working for him? What are you doing that works well for you?
Yeah.
Well, maybe what mistakes I've made so other people don't make the same mistakes, and what works and what doesn't. So yeah, it's great. Yeah, I don't worry too much about the analytics.
Well, and that's a funny thing because we talk about that as well. It's like I think you and I are in the same boat. Like that we're making revenue is just a bonus. Like I find doing the channel more fun because of the passion of trying to be very transparent and show people, here's a strategy that for me that's working, and here's how my strategy works, so I can help others that are further behind me on the ramp up into DIY investing. And like you said, you do it very well. I don't do it that well at all, but you do a lot of great one-on-one examples where you're talking to people that are very conservative investors, people that are very aggressive investors, people that have been doing it for several years and really successful, and those that just got started and are like, yeah, I'm still nervous about that. So I think that's more the fun in why I think our channels, even though we have different genres, like mine's more about strategy, and yours is more about in-person personality, day-to-day type of activity. But they both seem to feed what people are looking for, I think, with regards to, I'm looking at the income space, but I've really got a lot of questions and fears, and hopefully your perspectives help enlighten me. It's like, hey, I'm just like him. I'm just like Kevin. I'm just like so-and-so, right? So.
Yeah. And I actually watched a video today about why, I don't know if you're probably not Gen X, but I'm Gen X, and why a lot of Gen Xers, even though we're only 51 or 52 years old, we kind of want to retire. Whereas before, people thought, work till I'm 65. That's just what you do. But we seem to value time more now than we value money.
Right.
And you can make and save and invest an extra dollar, or you can have an extra day of free time. And I think that's where a lot of people are interested in the content that I do, because okay, I'm not 100% retired, but I have a lot more free time than I ever did when I was working full time. And it's actually a blessing. It's a lot nicer.
Well, and it's funny you said that, because that mindset, and obviously the younger generations is craving it, even though it's crazy, because when I was in my 30s, I never even once thought about the idea of retiring at age 40. Like, again, that was not even talked about. Now, it's amazing how many younger adults in their 20s, 30s, and entering their 40s have actual, not only ideas and wishes, but almost plans now. In many cases, they got plans that I'm going to retire at age 45. I mean, we had at the Blossoming in the Park, that young lady that was already retired in her 40s. It's like these people are now actually having active plans to say, I don't want to retire at 60. I don't even want to retire at 50. I want to retire before 50. And that's what's really cool. And again, the growth strategy really helps in building up that wealth base so that you can then convert it into something that generates cash flow, right? And I think that's now when you're getting the people in their 50s that have actually built up that wealth base. But they just thought, oh no, because I'm going to erode it to nothing using, basically meltdown strategies, I got to get even bigger. I got to wait till I'm 60 because I got to have that mountain so high that basically by 30 years, it'll get down to zero. Now with these income strategies with high yield, much higher yields than bonds and GICs exist now, people that are in their 50s that actually have the amount of wealth needed to actually live off of it now can actually start looking at using an income strategy. Like no one would have ever thought about retiring with under $1 million. Like, if you only had $500,000-$600,000, you wouldn't even have dreamt about the idea that you could retire on that. But now, using a right yield level, there are options where you can, between your pension and maybe other income, or, depending on how aggressive you are, $500,000-$700,000 might be enough for you to pre-retire or early retire or that, whereas that would never have been thought of before when you only had a growth strategy to work on, right?
Yeah, you're right, Barry. And I love watching those videos where they say, can you retire with $500,000? And the answer is always the same. There is no answer.
No.
Right? It's not a one size fits all. A lot of it, first of all, has to do with debt. Do you own your home? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have car payment? You know what I mean? So there's so many different factors, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity based on those other factors, right? And if you can get to the point where you can retire or be semi-retired, then you can do something like we're doing, where it's more of a passion project.
Right.
And if you make money from it, great. If it's just volunteering, great.
Great.
As long as it makes you happy.
Well, and that's why I think it's really a game changer when this new paradigm has showed up, where the income investment tools that you used to have 20 years ago, there's no way you could have used them. Bonds, GICs, generating 3%, 5%, 7% dividend investing. You couldn't really retire on the level of cash flow from yields that were under 7%, not unless you really built a large wealth reserve from the growth in order to live off of something with only 5 or 7%. But this paradigm where they're using options trading and an options-based income, high yield, where even a conservative, and again, I know some people say, that's not conservative, but in the covered call ETF space, a conservative growing covered call is something that's under 20% yield. Like it's very hard to find, very hard to find a conservative covered call ETF that's generating 15% yield that isn't also growing. Like they generally are growing at a 15% yield. You could never have thought of that 10, 15 years ago. When, if it was generating 15%, first of all, there's still people now that say that that's impossible, but you could never have seen an income-based investment tool such as that. So now you have things where, okay, well, if you're dealing with yields at 15, 20%, 10, 15, 20%, you now can actually consider having cash flow coming in where you can now use it. And I think Adriano said it right. You now, by having that cash flow come in, it gives you flexibility of options of what you want to do. Offset a mortgage, switch to part-time. Like, again, it all depends on your financial situation, debts and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. All right, Perry, we completely skipped our opening here talking about the events.
Yes.
So let's go backwards.
Yeah.
I didn't write the date down. We had that first meet and greet. When was that?
All right. So since that meet and greet, which is when we did our coffee and cash flow, which was our 1-year anniversary video, was on July 15th. That was when we did the meet and greet at the Blossoming in the Park. And 2 hours
was in Winnipeg, but then we did another one in Toronto, right?
Yeah, we did another one in Toronto. So we did the meet and greet. That was really good here, the Blossoming in the Park, and that's you got an interview with one of the individuals from the Blossoming in the Park. You just released that video just yesterday with Kevin, the conservative investor. So
cautious Kevin, CK. People love him, eh?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. We got over 3,000 views in less than 24 hours. So
yeah,
I think people really identified with his investing philosophy.
Yeah, and that was good. So we had a lot of great conversations. We met that young lady that basically in her 40s, and she pretty much could retire, even though she isn't. But I mean,
no, she retired.
Oh, she did retire. I didn't know if she did or not. Okay,
she retired at 42 or 43, and now she's a year older. She worked in a hospital, but she wasn't a doctor or anything. But she retired. Yeah.
So that was another great conversation. We had so many great conversations at Blossoming in the Park, and that was 2 of the ones that really stood out. So, yeah.
So are we going to plan for a second one next year?
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to. Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Okay, so then that all happened, and then, that was a whirlwind for me because that was the week of my dad's passing too. So it was crazy for me, good and bad, right? And then the next week, right away started our whirlwind of Blossom and YouTube channel stuff. I flew out to Toronto on the Thursday morning before BlossomCon, which was on the 25th, right, of July. But before then, on the 23rd, you and I held another Blossom meet and greet in Toronto, right?
Yeah, that was our second one at Arizona's, right?
That's right, second one. Arizona's going to love us because we keep doing our meet and greets in Arizona Bar and Grill over by the Toronto airport.
Yeah, we highly recommend it.
Yes.
Great little spot. Actually, it's a big spot. It's massive.
Yeah, it's maybe they'll give us an extra plate of tacos for calling them out.
That was nice, though. I think that time we only had about 12 people show up.
Yeah.
So we got to sit on the patio.
Yeah, I'll show some pictures, by the way, as we talk. So, yeah.
Got to speak a little bit more closely with some people. And actually, one of the ladies that came out is she's currently, I think, actually, I'm not going to give any details because when she gets back from her vacation in Turkey, we're going to do, I'm going to do an interview with her as well. So
good news.
Trying to get more ladies on the channel.
Right.
Because I think it's important not only that us guys are investing, but that also, our daughters, our wives, are also investing. Yeah,
and that was really good. I mean, speak of that, we also had those 2 ladies that drove in for this little meet and greet from, was it Waterloo? It was somewhere west of the city.
Guelph?
Yeah, maybe it's Guelph.
Kitchener, Waterloo, something like that.
Yeah, it was over in that area there. So they actually drove, again, that likely is maybe about an hour's drive. I don't know how far, but it's...
Yep.
It's quite a haul, but she came and brought her friend, and they both came here. They were just starting their investment journey. That was really cool to actually sit down and talk with them on what they're doing and how they're getting started, and some of the stories and what got them going in there. So that was really cool. And then we had another individual that actually Heath and I were talking to at the end of the table, who was in the other side. He's basically he called himself an advanced investor. And had actually a lot of wealth in his TFSA, but he was telling Heath and I how he was really concerned. He held a lot of cash in his TFSA because he hasn't really yet figured out how he was going to invest it. The fear of taxes, right? Like
in his non-reg.
In his non-reg, yeah. So he was holding. Yeah, sorry, you're right. It wasn't in the TFSA. It was in his non-reg. That was what was interesting about that.
That was the issue, right?
That was the issue.
He was afraid to invest his money in his non-registered account, right? Because he was worried about how much tax he would end up having to pay.
And his TFSAs were full, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, they were full. So he was sort of like, I can't put more in there. And then that's when Heath brought it up, that what Heath and I both do. And, I never even thought about saying it, but then Heath brought it up and I said, yeah, I forgot about telling him about that. And we were telling him about the idea. Heath calls it, and I give him credit for his name, he calls it TFSA super cycle. So,
right.
But we introduced the idea. I use it, and Heath uses it in different ways. But the idea of basically opening up more contribution room by actually withdrawing the income, and this only works on income portfolios, but withdrawing the income in year one and basically refilling and maxing out those contribution headrooms that come from the withdrawals and putting in taxable capital back in. Income out, taxable capital in, like cash sitting in a non-reg that he could actually then put into the TFSA, reinvest it with more income generating covered call ETFs, which then it becomes a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger. And he didn't even, is that possible? I said, yeah, it's possible. And it's legal. There's nothing illegal about it. It follows all the rules of TFSA investing. And I'm actually building a video, and I want to make sure I do it right. So I'm actually doing a video on it. Sorry, Heath, I'm giving it a different name because the TFSA super cycle didn't explain all of the benefits of it. So, but that was very interesting too. And introducing, he's like, wow, that was an eye opener for me. And I consider myself an advanced investor. So,
well, and he also mentioned that he had a financial advisor,
right,
who was unable to help him with this dilemma, unless he hadn't spoken to him about it. But you think he would if it was his financial advisor. But
and the thing is, this whole idea of this super cycle that Heath calls it, or this, I call it a tax melt snowballing strategy, it's like it doesn't work with growth investments. It only works on high yielding income investments in your TFSA, because what you're doing, you can't do this with growth, because the only way to get growth capital to leave the TFSA is to melt it, to actually sell it. Well, if you're selling capital to bring it out just to put in more capital, you basically you've neutralized yourself. But if you have income generating investments like cover call ETFs that generate thousands of dollars, and you pull that out, you haven't sold any capital, you haven't sold any investments, they generate all the time inside, but you're only pulling out the income, which then frees up your headroom, and then you put back the taxable capital back in. It can't be done with a growth investment.
I started doing that last year. So last year I withdrew from my TFSA. This year I'm doing it again, right? I take out $2,000 a month for my TFSA.
Yeah.
Come January of 2027, I'll be putting that all back in for money that I've been saving and investing and growing in a non-reg account.
Right.
And I'll replace it back. So my TFSA right now is kind of going down a little bit because I'm pulling out the $2,000, but it's going to get a big bump come January when I can put back 24,000 plus. I guess we'll probably
plus
get about
$7,000.
Another 7,000, right? Maybe a little bit higher if we're lucky, but once I put that 31,000 back into my TFSA is going to jump from about 200 or whatever up to 230.
Exactly. And this is what we're going back to, what we were saying that several people, and Adriano had mentioned it before, is the income strategies gives you flexibility on investment strategies that you can't do with a growth strategy, right? Like only an income strategy can get away with this, using the rules of a TFSA to your advantage by constantly reopening up headroom by pulling out only its income and leaving the capital inside the TFSA generating more income. So
Right.
I do it myself for my RIFs. Again, it's not as effective as this individual that had cash sitting in a non-reg, because I get the stuff that comes out of the RIF gets taxed. So,
Sure.
but it's a tax me once, don't tax me from then on. So it's a one-time tax that then goes in the TFSAs, and then that one-time taxed income is or capital is now generating income in a TFSA as opposed to a RIF, right? So
are you pulling money out of your TFSAs as well?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I pull it out, not as much as I should be, because I haven't fully done that one. But I do pull out of my TFSAs. And here's the thing: I do it because for the most part, I do it because I offset my RIF income, which is taxable, right? And I don't want that number to be high. Let's say I want to go on a trip and I need an extra $5,000 or $10,000. I don't want to add that to my RIF income, which gets taxed. That's where my TFSA acts as the buffer and says anything beyond your scheduled monthly withdrawal, let your TFSA take it out. So you got to actually consume the TFSA money somehow, either put it into an RSP or whatever. Because taking it out just to put it back in January has no value either. It's like you really need it to offset where you would have used taxable capital, right? So
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm doing a whole video on it, but I want to be careful. I want to make sure I do it really fully so it's best understood. So, yeah.
Keep it under an hour, Perry. Just under.
I'll do an hour and 10. I got to break a 1 hour rule. So, anyways, so that was the meet and greet in Toronto. That was really good. And then Friday, nothing.
So Friday morning.
Friday was Harvest.
I'm pretty sure I picked you up and we went down to the TMX to open the stock exchange with Harvest.
And that was the TMX, not the Cboe.
Yeah, it was TMX, right? So the Toronto Stock Exchange. And that was for their launch of their new HHII, which is their International High Shares Fund, or High Income Shares. I always get confused on what the actual name is because there's so many different companies nowadays. But yeah, that was I don't know about you, Perry, but I had a great time doing that. And I think you got some good photos of you and I opening the stock exchange. You can post.
Yes, I'm going to post it because we actually got Harvest sent us some photos of us pressing the bell button and stuff like that. That was cool. So,
and then we got to go out for breakfast with some of the people from Harvest and some of the other content creators.
Yeah.
And Perry and I got lucky enough to sit with Michael Kovacs.
Yeah, for breakfast. That was really nice. Yeah.
And chat with him. And I don't know about you, Perry, but you can tell by having conversations with him, he lives and breathes this stuff.
Yeah.
Like his knowledge of companies is 10 times past where I'm at.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm glad that they're picking the stocks and not us.
Well, and for those that don't know, because we just throw out a name. So Michael Kovacs is the co-founder of Harvest. So
yeah.
And Paul's president. I believe Paul's president, and
yeah, he's he a CIO and president? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but Michael is a co-founder. So
yeah, with his wife Mary.
And his wife Mary, both charming people. Like you sort of think meeting these people, they'd be really high and mighty with crowns on and stuff like that. But it was literally like sitting at the cottage having a conversation about whatever. Like it was just so relaxed and so natural. It was just great having great conversations with Michael and Paul and actually the rest of the Harvest team. But it was really good having, being honored to actually have breakfast with Michael after the TMX opening. So,
and I don't know about you, Perry, but I actually added HHII to my portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, HHIS is my largest position, and I started buying HHIC. Yeah, HHIC, and now HHII.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about doing a video and talking about whether or not could you just hold those three funds and that could be your whole portfolio.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'd have US, Canada, and international covered.
Right. Well, and I'm still torn. I haven't decided yet. Like, I really like that there's a new player in the international sector, because there just isn't that many of them. There's, it's building up slowly because people are like, wow, we're really nailing the S&P and the NASDAQ and the TSX and the Canadian. But there was really, in my opinion, in the cover call space, there weren't that many focused international options. I do have one from Evolve, which which is Inti, and I
Right.
do like it because it pays by a semi-monthly.
Yeah.
It uses a higher leverage and has a higher yield than HHII does. But I am actually still considering, because my strategy normally is when I'm holding like a sector, I like to have one that's more aggressive and one's less aggressive. And
Right.
HHII clearly is less aggressive. It uses a lower leverage, and it's not. It's got nothing to do with yield, but they also only pay monthly, which is something I'm starting to get really used to the semi-monthly. So
Right. And I think Evolve maybe also writes their calls at the money.
yeah, I think they're
Where
more aggressive, and they have 33% leverage, and
yeah,
yeah,
Harvest might write it a little bit outside of the money, right, to
yeah.
capture a little bit more upside.
And I
We'd
think
have to.
33% or 30%, in that 30% range, I think, right?
Right. I do
Coverage.
own Inti as well, but only because I own Easy.
Yeah, you hold it as part of Easy. So
I
I am
Barry, I like to take
interested.
the easy road. I
Yeah,
like to take the easy road.
yeah,
Like
you took
like
it easy.
Adriano says, I'm a lazy investor.
You took it easy with Easy. I'm actually more easier than you because I already held most of the ones that were in Easy. So
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to sell them all out of all my accounts, pay out the commission fees just to go into one that's an all-in-one, right? Otherwise, I would have considered it, right? So
I'm surprised you haven't called RBC and told them that if they don't start giving you free commissions, you're going to transfer your whole account.
yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to put that kind of threat. So
Right?
yeah, so yeah, I'm still on the fence. I might be considering, like right now, as you we've talked on several of our coffee cash flows, as well as I've talked in my videos. I'm currently on a reinvesting strategy pause. Have been since all of 2026. Actually, I'll technically say February, because with the TFSA, when you put in all those contributions in the TFSA, they have to be reinvested. So January didn't count. It was basically I had to invest, right? But since February, I've really about 80 to 90% held back my reinvesting. So that's another reason I haven't yet considered biting on HHII, because I was waiting to reach my 5% target, which last week I did. On the 12th I did, and 13th or things I did, before my RIFs basically made me drop back below 5%. I hit 5.02%, and then my RIFs basically paid out my monthly retirement expenses. So I went back down to 4.6. So, but I hit
So
a
when
milestone.
next week we should be getting our semi-monthlies again, right?
Yes, that's right.
And when you get your semi-monthlies, that should put you well over 5%. So
Yeah.
anything over 5%, you can reinvest.
Yeah, so that is my strategy. I'm not pausing reinvesting forever. Like I've really held back on it because I'm waiting for that market crash, and then I can go bargain hunting. But I can't do that forever. I said I wanted to have enough dry powder so that I could make a significant dent in any market crash, and 5% was sort of my arbitrary number. Any money that's now generated at or above 5%, I will now try to maintain a 4.5 to 5.5% cash reserve. So yeah, I'll be starting to go do my reinvesting now that I've reached that target, right?
Perry, I thought you said you were holding all that cash for my birthday next week.
Well, first of all, it's your birthday. I did not know that.
Coming up next week. So yeah, you've got cash for my present.
Yep, I'm
Lots
all
of cash.
ready.
That's good.
I'll have something. Well, yeah, I already took you to Tahiti, as we're sitting here under these this nice lovely sun in Tahiti. That
Is that where we are, Tahiti?
I don't know. I'll call it Tahiti.
Okay.
Well, by the way, that's so funny. I know we go all over the place with coffee and cash flow, but we were sort of joking because Paul and I have seen each other now for 2 out of the 3 weeks, because I was in Toronto both the BlossomCon week, had a week off, then came out for the PI event. So Paul and I have basically been in person several times, including your house when you hosted me for a few minutes there, and could have done videos, but nope, under none of those circumstances did we ever sit down and actually do a real in-person one. So we actually flew to Tahiti here, and we're doing it here in Tahiti.
Yeah, we're doing it live now.
Yeah, live now in Tahiti. Yeah, yeah. We're waiting for the girls to bring us a nice mojito. So
Oh, a
yeah,
mojito would be good.
yeah.
All right, Perry. So
Okay.
after opening up the
Harvest.
stock market with Harvest,
Yeah.
the next day was the big day,
Yeah.
the BlossomCon.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. I look forward to it. I was really, after the first one last year, I was really looking forward to this year's. It was much larger. I'll say almost 2 times as large. They had around 2,000 people. I know they hit their max because there was people looking for tickets before they went in. They introduced some ideas that they were experimenting on. Some of them, even Max and Tim and some of the others turned around and said, we're going to have to rethink that, like the VIP, which people like the VIP because of the more deep dive sessions that they had. But it really, the way it was thought out, they're going to have to do some improvements on it, like maybe do it the day before, because it really, if you had a VIP ticket, it was happening at the same time as the main event. So a lot of people wanted to participate in both, but they were sort of struggling, like, should I do the VIP session for 1 hour, or do I miss, whatever. So some of the things they're going to have to really think about on the VIP side. There's no question about that.
You know what, Perry? I like your idea of having the VIP participants, whatever, being able to come in. And I think an hour earlier would be nice. Like, they can't come in too early because they have to set everything up. Right? Everything has to get set up. But once it's set up, maybe let them in an hour early so they can hit all the booths. They can talk to all the fund managers. They can get their swag. Yeah. And then after that, they can go and focus on the
main event, on the VIPs.
Yeah, on the VIP. Did you make it down to any of those VIP sessions? I didn't.
No, I didn't. Again, I don't even know if I had the ticket or not. But even if I did, I honestly would not have gone to it. And again, nothing against the sessions. There were some really good deep dive sessions. But my purpose of going to the BlossomCon was to socialize and interact with the other investors. And the sessions, in my opinion, it's just my personal opinion, the sessions for me, because I watch all of everybody's, like Adriano, which actually hosted one of them, but there were several others that did. It's like, well, I've watched the videos. I've already, a lot of them I already knew the theories and the constructs and the strategies. And again, maybe younger people that are just starting might have found more value in it. But it's almost like an in-person version of, of a YouTube video. And I really like BlossomCon and actually our meet and greets for exactly that reason. It's you get to talk to people. You actually get to hear other people's story, because when you and I are doing channels, we're doing all the talking and the only thing we hear is typed comments, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is the best part, Perry. Between being able to meet, and now we've had a chance to meet a lot of them many times, but to meet the people from Hamilton and from Harvest and Global X, whoever, all the different fund managers that were there, to be able to talk to those people and to be able to talk to all the people who come up to us and they want hard to believe, but they actually want to talk to us. You know what I mean? And I think it's funny. Some of them are actually almost like nervous or afraid, because they see you on YouTube, and then when they talk to us, they realize they're just a couple of average Joes who will stand and chat with you, you know what I mean, and talk about whatever, and
and I guess that's maybe the thing about, you think, oh, if they're a big YouTube channel, like, not that we're big, we only have like 11,000 people, but I guess in our community we're getting better known. So it's weird when you sort of turn into this quote unquote celebrity status and people sort of think you're something you're not. It's like, I'm just an average Joe like you and an average Joe. And we had a lot of great conversations with a lot of people asking me a lot of questions that they would never ask as a comment, on a YouTube video. I got a lot of questions myself on my RIFs, because I'm retired and I live off of my income. I got a lot of people asking me questions about my RIF and how do I deal with my RIFs and the payout structure and stuff like that. And also got some really, very kind comments. People said, thanks to you and Paul and the others, like, I started being brave enough to actually do investing, and it's been really eye-opening and very rewarding. But a lot of the questions on helping enforce strategies, like the idea that if you're an income investor, you really got to believe in buy and hold. Otherwise, you're really not as much of an income investor if you're always buying and selling. Well, only growth investors, for the most part, do buying and selling, right? So talking about those kind of strategies and the ideas of, how an income investor looks at things with NAV differently than a growth investor, right? So.
No, but some of the things I've been doing differently than you, Perry, like just using a margin account, trying to sell some puts. So I had people that, wanted to talk about their strategies, how they use their margin accounts, how they're selling puts on certain. I think one guy talked to me about how he uses SLD, which I think is just the silver ETF.
Right.
And every week he sells a put on it. And, he was explaining his strategy to me, which was really cool. And, other people who are into MSTE and they're worried about it, they just wanted to talk. And it's funny how people always want to know, like, are you still invested in it?
Right.
And it's like, don't you watch the videos? Of course I'm still invested in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I've got a lot of questions related to you about, I mean, MST is sort of the poster child example of a NAV that goes down because everyone got into the hype, even conservative Kevin.
Cautious Kevin.
Cautious Kevin. Even cautious Kevin got pulled into the MST hype. So I feel bad in a way that Harvest's MST is used as the poster child for look at that bad. But again, it was a perfect opportunity to talk about the strategies you should be using when you're doing income investing. This is where I talk about the idea of setting explicit targets based on the risk of each investment. People are like, oh, well, you have. I said, yeah, I do have it. Do I lose sleep at night that MST is down, 80%? I don't know what number it's down right now. Again, I don't even watch it. And the reason I don't worry about it is because I didn't go all in on it. Like I didn't put 20, 30% of my entire portfolio on it hoping to get rich quick scheme. Because first of all, I didn't buy it for the purposes of it going up. I bought it for its purpose of generating income. Right? It's down now on its income. But, there's several others I have that have gone down on income. But again, I put my target at 2%. That's all I have. If I know it won't go down to zero, not unless a strategy itself delists as a company, which I don't think that's going to happen when you hold that many billions of dollars in Bitcoin. But
right.
But at the end of the day, it was a good opportunity at BlossomCon to remind people what income investing is all about. It's not about NAV appreciation. It's not about, if it is, then you're not really an income investor. You're either a hybrid investor or you're a growth investor, hiding under the auspices of an income investor, right? So.
All right, Perry, that was 1 week.
That was 1 week.
That was 1 week. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I guess we could. So then you went back home, obviously.
I went back home to do actually some, my father's estate, trying to, clean up and get all his affairs in order and stuff, and helping thank God I've got so much help from my family, my brother, sister, and their spouses in holding down the fort while I've been doing this. And then after that, the next week started. That was the August 4th when I flew back to Toronto after 1 week in Winnipeg, and we started the next round, which was, we call it the Pie Week because because it really was part of Adriano's and Erica's big wingding downtown Toronto in a beautiful art gallery, a historic Toronto Stock Exchange, the old Stock Exchange. That was on the 7th. And the reason it was on the 7th because BlossomCon was supposed to be on the 8th.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And unfortunately, BlossomCon got kicked out, and Paul couldn't move his. So the second week was all the pie event, right?
Yeah, but it was a good week, and Adriano and Erica, because they were going to be in Toronto, they connected with a lot of the ETF providers and tried to set up some things for all of us to do.
Yeah.
And so on the 4th, there was the opening of the Chicago Board of Exchange with Hamilton.
Right.
Was it Hamilton? Yes.
Hamilton.
For B-Day, part of their Daymax series.
Right.
And you couldn't make it because you were flying in at the time that we were opening the market.
Yeah, I was flying over you as you were opening the markets. So
well, I was stuck in the lobby trying to get up, but they said I wasn't on the guest list. So I literally walked into the room as they were ringing the bell. So I got there. I literally got there seconds late, but it was still great.
Yeah,
I got to meet people like Vern from Hamilton and Lewis, some of their I guess portfolio managers and ETF marketing managers, and great guys, and talk to them about all of our favorite Hamilton funds like HYLD and HDIV and the Daymax series. I'm still trying to get them to put all four together. I would like an all-in-one, but unless people literally call in. So if you guys want an all-in-one as well, call in and tell them that's what you want. It's the only way they'll ever do it.
H-easy.
No, that's taken already. It would have to be something else. Maybe
they're gonna have to be pretty creative on how they can make something like that. So,
well, they have Q Day, S Day, C Day, D Day. So it's got to be something like P Day. Like the perfect day.
Perfect day, or A Day, meaning all days.
Yes, all day, right?
All days. Yeah. So you did that. Yeah, and that turned out really good. I think you went over also after that for to the Hamilton office, or did you just go for lunch?
Yeah, no, Perry, you missed a lot. We got to go over to the Hamilton office and sit in the boardroom with Rob Wessel, who I think co-founded or founded Hamilton. And he's the one who dreamt up HDIV, HDIV. He dreamed about it, or he dreamt about it.
Yeah.
And came into work and told everybody his idea, and they all thought he was a little bit crazy. But it's turned out to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
And just despite what some people say, it's beating a lot of, I think, other indices, right? So
and he's an institution in the Canadian banking industry before anything with cover call did, because we talk about Hamilton and they're one of the competing cover call ETF companies. But I mean, from what I remember in my early days, because HMAX was my first ever cover call ETF, and I do remember watching a lot of interviews that Rob Wessel had, and everyone talks as like he's sort of known as an institution in the banking and finance and environment, industries or sector, right? So I actually would have loved to have met him. So
you know what? He really was genuinely a nice guy. I think he's getting pretty close to retiring. So, he's not feeling the same stress that I guess usually would go along with his position. But really, really, really nice guy. He treated us so well.
Yeah.
And
he also explained to you, which it was good to hear, because a lot of people are asking, is like, why are all these, some people are skeptical, say, hey, why is Paul and Perry being pulled into all these ETF manager companies? Like, is this basically that you're being used as marketing tools? Well, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, they are like everybody else. They have a product to sell in a channel that they want to expand in, and so they're trying to find. Hamilton's no different than Harvest, Evolve, Brompton, all the others. What's the best way to reach out to a channel that they're trying to reach out is? A lot of them, I don't know if they're all, but a lot of them, their primary channel used to be the advisory space. And that was, they marketed and sold and had sessions with advisors, the people like when you go to your financial planner, they're the people they were going after, because they were the ones that were the channel to sell their products to you, the individual. Now they're really, all of them are moving into the DIY space, or wanting to expand the DIY space. So it's only bread and butter natural that what they want to do is, how do we reach the DIY space? Well, the way you reach it is through social media, and in the cover call ETF space, as well as the growth ETF space. When you can get YouTube channel, popular YouTube channel creators that are actually talking about the sector that they actually have products they're selling in, of course they want to talk to you and try to explain to you, so that you could sell a better message to your end customers or the viewers, so that we can now, with a little bit more education and more knowledge, we can now explain to you guys, like, hey, this is what's happening with Brompton. This is what's happening with Evolve and stuff like that. So it's a form of education, and obviously they see that education actually spawns marketing on their side, right? Expanded sales on their side. So And I think Wessel was mentioning that to you, right? That you guys are the
Well,
reach for us, right?
yeah, he spent a bit of time talking about the Globe and Mail. I guess he still reads the Globe and Mail, the
Yeah,
business section, the finance section, and how a lot of their writers only write about like XEI or XEQT, or I think
right.
he said there's about 10 Canadian ETFs that's they just recycle. Every 3 months it's almost the same article
Yeah,
about the exact same funds.
yeah.
Even though in Canada now there's, is it 1,000 ETFs or
More
few
than that, I
thousand?
bet. Yeah.
I'm not sure what the numbers, but there's thousands, right?
There's
And
almost,
they
if
don't.
I remember correct, there's over 200 Canadian derivative-based income-generating ETFs.
There you go.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about them,
No.
right? Which is, I think, what he was trying to say is that all of the new DIY investors, which is what you're talking about, people
Yeah.
who are no longer using an advisor, or maybe they have an advisor, but they're still, becoming DIY investors at the same time.
Right.
And the Globe and Mail doesn't seem to be talking about any of the funds that we're buying as DIY
Right.
investors,
Right.
and that we're covering on our YouTube channels.
Right.
So
And so basically they're giving us the ammunition that helps us educate what their products do. And again, we're competitive. Like, it's not as if we're marketing one brand. Like, you and I'll call a spade a spade. If there's a reason I like, say, Inti better than HHII, I'm still going to say what my pros and cons are for me, and why would HHII be good for somebody else, even if it may not be good for me. So we use the knowledge from Hamilton, Harvest, Evolve, Brompton, BMO, and all of them, and sort of try to turn it into a holistic message that our end users can consume, saying, hey, I've learned from all of these. So that's why we go to these things. I mean, it's honored to be invited, but we learned so much from them. And Hamilton was the first of that week. So
yeah, you know what? I don't know about you, Perry, but I just really enjoy being in the whole community, the whole space. And for
yeah,
me, it started out with Adriano's Facebook group, right? He has his passive income investing Facebook group.
mm-hmm.
I think there's about 15,000 members. And I used to go on that every single day and post religiously.
Right,
And then, Blossom came out, and I kind of slowly veered away from the Facebook group to the Blossom group.
right,
And now we're on YouTube, and
right.
it's just a growing community. And now we get to do things face to face and actually meet people. A few years ago, I would have never thought that I'd get to sit down in a room with, somebody like Paul McDonald or Michael Kovacs. Like,
Yeah.
Adriano gets to,
Yeah.
he gets to review them and talk to them and so
Yeah.
on. But the fact that we can do it now,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? For
It's
me,
an
it's a
honor.
lot of fun.
I think it's an
Yeah.
honor. It
Oh,
really.
yeah.
I love the space, and to be in the space of being an income investing influencer, it's just been unexpected, but an enjoyment for me, and to actually meet the leaders of these companies that make the products that literally is what I enjoy. That literally makes my portfolio tick and makes me retire. For the next 30 days or 30 years is it's just an honor. So that
Yeah.
was the 4th when we met
Yeah, that was
Hamilton.
the fourth, and
Yeah.
and we finished off the day. Well, you weren't there because you were going to you flew in late and you were going to the Foo Fighter
Yeah,
concert.
I got my
But
own compensation. I got to go to the Foo Fighters concert later that night, and yeah, amazing concert.
that day and some of the other days, we got to spend time with a bunch of other content creators like Leon from
Yeah.
Leon's Money Flow,
Yeah.
and Jordan was there from what Covered Call ETF Investing.
Yeah. Norman from Dividend Empire. Yeah.
Yep, got to meet Norman, and I've
First
watched his
time met.
channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched his channel before, but I didn't know who the person behind the channel was. So we
Yeah.
got to meet Norman, which was great.
Yeah.
Who else was there? I guess you and me.
You and me, and Erica and Adriano at a couple of the pre-PI events, like Harvest and that, when we met with them there. And so that was really cool, meeting fellow
They
creators.
took us out for lunch. You missed that. Adriano and Erica took us out for lunch. So you missed that, unfortunately. But
yeah, I did miss out a lot on that morning, I tell you. So yeah. And so that was our Tuesday. Like, literally, it went from, are we going to fill up these days, to we had so much to do. So the next day was the 5th. And that's when you didn't pick me up. You abandoned me because you went and picked up Leon. So Harvest sent me an Uber, and we all went to the Harvest head office on Wednesday the 5th to meet with Paul, and actually Michael wasn't there, so it was Paul sort of led it, but the rest of the team from Harvest, we went there for the visit.
Carolyn was there and Ambrose was there, but Leon actually, poor guy, he lives up in West or East Willenbury, so he took transit all the way to like Union Station, from Union Station all the way to Oakville.
Yeah.
He ended up getting there like an hour earlier than he told me he would. So I picked him up, and from where I picked him up, Perry, to their head office was about 6 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
You got the last leg.
Yeah, it was only about 6 minutes. That's how close he was to their head office. Yeah. So I really didn't go and pick him up all the way at home. That would have taken me a couple hours.
Right. But yeah, that was cool. So we went. So we all went there. I got an Uber ride there, but it was so funny. But my Uber ride from my hotel to Harvest head office was about 30 minutes. By the end of the 30 minutes, the driver is going to start doing income investing.
You sold them on it, eh?
I sold them in 30 minutes. I did an Uber ride sales pitch to him on what I was doing. So that was so funny, actually, that he said, give me your channel. I really want to learn about this stuff. So
it's funny you say that, because to two of our meet and greets, we had a gentleman come from like Ajax.
Yeah.
He drove a long way to come out and see us, and he used to own 5 or 6 taxis.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so right. I remembered. Yes.
Right. Because of Uber, he ended up selling most of his taxis, and now he just has the one.
Yeah.
But he credits somehow my channel and your channel to helping him get to the point where he's going to be able to retire soon.
Right.
And before that, he said he wasn't quite sure what he was going to do.
Right. So, yeah. So that was another good example of, and you just start the conversation, before you know it, they're like, wow, I didn't know this happened. So that was so cool. So, but anyway, so we went to the Harvest, and again, the team was there, but really Paul led the show for most of it. I found it all of us, Leon and Norman, we were all there for it. And Paul took us to his trading desk and basically really showed us a day in the life of how they, monitor and track their investments, and, how they, how basically the whole decision tree works, and some of the metrics that they follow when they're making decisions on how, the strike price and what they're going to do on covered calls and how much coverage they're going to do. Like, honestly, we sat for an hour, and again, you could just see it was Paul's passion. Like, again, I don't blame him, because we were nerding right out with him, right?
Yeah, and I think you, Norman, and maybe Jordan kind of led the way in asking questions.
Yeah.
And Paul was only too happy to answer them all. I think we could have sat there for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Although he was sitting, we were standing. My back was killing me.
Yeah. Well, that was so funny, because you could see that the Harvest team was sort of like, we've got lunch in the executive boardroom. It's like, but we weren't leaving, because we were just, asking questions. Like Leon was asking, are they using Python on their spreadsheets? And they talked about, the zero DTE, and like, we got into so many conversations, and how the actual flow process on executing orders and stuff. And again, I wasn't that shocked about it, because I was an IT architect for decades, and a lot of mine was working with, insurance, like some of the largest insurance and banking, in Canada. I know the legal rigors on what has to go on, the approval process on, there has to be a full audit trail on everything. So I was interested to see how they do it. It's their people. For people who think that these are young companies and they're just sort of flying by the seat of their pants, they're not. They have to follow the same regulatory and audit trails that everybody else in the financial industry does. So it was just cool for me to see how that process sort of works. Some others might have just like, oh, I didn't know they follow such rigor. They do. And again, it's not just Harvest. I'm sure all of them do the same thing, right? So.
Yeah, and their spreadsheets were all made in-house. Like, they designed and made all of these spreadsheets over the last 15 years. And Perry, your spreadsheet's pretty impressive, but theirs was pretty impressive as well.
Yeah. They had some things that I can't afford. Like they have, again, if you're a spreadsheet nerd and into finance and stuff, like, they have a Bloomberg plugin into their Excel spreadsheet. And it's like, oh Lordy, I'd love to have something like that. So yeah. So anyways, that was really cool. deep dive. It gave us a better appreciation again, and this is what we're talking about here. To get a better, deeper dive understanding of how these companies actually make their decision. How do they make sure that these ETFs are delivering on their prospectus, right? And that's the thing. So for anybody who thinks that when you see what they do, and then it sort of makes me laugh when somebody says, I can do just as good as they can, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know how to do it. Like, I know I can do better. No, you can't. I'm sorry. You can't. Long-term, sustainable, you can't, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, hindsight's 2020, and everybody's what they call it, a Monday quarterback, where after something happens, you can say, oh, well, why didn't the fund managers do this? And why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
But they're doing it in real time. Like, they're making the decisions, in real time, making big decisions.
Minute by minute. Like, this isn't like I made my trades for the morning and then I'm leaving it for these guys are watching it all day. Like, you know what I mean?
They had some checks that they make 2-3 times a day just to make sure everything's running smoothly the way it has to run. And I don't know about you, Perry, but I felt like I've always liked Harvest and I invest a lot in them. Mm-hmm. But after I watched that, I felt more confident that, okay, my money's safe.
Yeah. And again, this is what I said. This is Paul was a perfect example of the confidence level you can have in saying that, they're not fly by night. Like, these people are heads down trading, and and their delivery is mature. And it's no different, I'm sure, in different ways, in different proprietary ways. But I would be shocked if the Hamiltons and Evolves and Bromptons don't do the exact same thing in their own way. Yeah. But it just showed you a good poster child example of what one of these fund managers do to make sure that they meet the deliverables so you guys can retire, right? So,
and I mean, I don't think it's a secret, but coming up in the fall is the interim election in the States.
Yeah.
Right. So they had one of their interns from, I think, university in the States. Can't remember which one it was. They had her do 40 hours worth of research to figure out whether or not the presidential interim election would affect the markets.
Right. Exactly. So they're researching to that level.
Yeah. So they're really looking into everything.
Right.
Anyways, it was a lot of fun. I'd love to go back and talk to Paul. I've been recently getting into the healthcare sector with my investments, and he runs HHL. Yeah. So that's kind of like his pride and joy.
Right.
So I'm really hoping to talk to him a little bit more about that, and future videos hopefully coming up.
Yeah. So then we went to the 6th, which was the Thursday, and that's where I got to see the Foo Fighters and missed the Hamilton. You went to a concert in the United States. I can't remember who it was.
I went and saw Riley Green.
Riley Green. And you missed out a lot.
I did. I missed out.
So Thursday was really cool, including an unexpected one. And it was actually, thanks to Jordan, because he's actually going to be, I think, speaking at the Vancouver BlossomCon. And Max needed to do a photo op with him quickly. So he was going to go to the Blossom office in downtown Toronto. And we all tagged along with him.
Nice.
Yeah, the creators that were, Norman, Leon, Jordan and his brother-in-law, and myself. And we all went to the Blossom office. We got to see the Blossom office and visit with Max for about a half hour. That was really cool, right downtown. It really was great to have just a one-on-one with him. There's a photo. I'll show a photo of us with a little bit of a selfie of us there. So that was something that was an unexpected actual event that I didn't think we were going to do. So that was cool to do. We did that in the morning. Then we went to breakfast and stuff like that. And then after that, we went to the Evolve. Evolve had a TMX closing on their new cover call ETF called Cute, which you have to turn around and say, when it comes to Evolve, they are the kings of cute symbols.
Yeah, so, their tickers.
Their tickers are always so cute. So this one's Cute, and it basically is their new Canadian utilities ETF. I would turn around, you and I looked at the differences. They've got actually like 2 or 3 layers of this one because they already have Utes, which I hold that one. And I was thought, okay, they introduced Utes and they're putting in Cute as being something that's more aggressive than Utes. And it's not. It's actually more conservative than Utes. It actually has no leverage. It goes into their lineup of no leverage ETFs. So that's what Qt is. It's UTs without leverage for the most part. I think the best way I can describe it for those, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I missed that day, and I haven't had an opportunity to meet with Evolve, and they weren't at BlossomCon.
No,
Which
no.
big mistake on their part, I think. That
I
they
think
weren't at
so too. Like
BlossomCon.
I even challenged them on it, and they just sort of said it was, it wasn't in their marketing plan. But I mean, honestly, I personally am the same way. I think they missed out a big opportunity there in the sense that, I mean,
Yeah,
if you're trying to expand the marketplace, your channel of your DIY investors, again, they weren't going to be the premium sponsor. They would have just been another ETF company at BlossomCon. But just again, everyone noticed their non-visibility, that their
yeah.
absence. They were actually noticed for not being there. So again,
The
you have to turn around and say that seems like it was a little bit of a mistake on their part not going to that BlossomCon. So
yeah, the lady who came to Adriano and Erica's event on the Friday night from Evolve, I didn't
yeah,
catch her name. Did you catch her name? She
no,
spoke.
huh? Yeah.
She's the one that presented. She spoke
Oh
on
yeah, she
Evolve's
spoke. Yeah,
behalf, right?
yeah,
I got to talk to her later on, and it seems like she is aware now of the fact that they probably should have been there.
yeah.
So I think she's going to go back to her boss and make sure that next time they'll be there.
Yeah. Again, everyone they have their priorities. I'm sure they did have thinking on why they shouldn't do it. And I mean, I think in hindsight, when they noticed how many people noticed they weren't there,
Yeah,
that's when it basically a light bulb went on, saying, "Wow, we didn't think we'd be that noticed for not being there." Right. So
yeah, yeah. I don't know if they were trying to save a little bit of money by not
yeah,
being there and
yeah,
not sponsoring the event and not
yeah,
bringing swag to hand out or whatever
yeah.
the costs involved are. But
Right.
no, I think it was a mistake.
Yeah, but
How was
I was really enjoyed meeting them because again, one of my largest, like I have several ETF managers, like I have some Hamilton, I have some Harvest, and I have a few other ones that are onesie twosie. Like I think Global X, I only have one called ENCL.
yeah,
Yeah, I think Evolve is actually my largest number of holdings. Is
really
Yeah, because when you think about it, I've got Bank 60, Inti, Canny, like
Utes?
Utes. I've got lots of Evolve, and yet I've never seemed to get it was finally great to actually put a face to a name to a face and actually meet, the CIO and those guys from Evolve. And we had some really good conversations about, strategies on how to expand in the channel and what are some of the things. So that was really good to actually have some one-on-one conversations with some of the top people from Evolve and sort of, talk about what's their plan and strategy on expanding the DIY space in our side of giving them some ideas and stuff like that on, what we were thinking. So I thought it was really cool to meet with, one of the companies that actually I have the most number of ETFs with, right? So
Did they spill the beans on any new products coming out, or other than Qt, which they just launched?
no, but they do have several coming. Of course, they can't tell you what they are, but I mean, it sounds like there's going to be another onslaught of a lot more coming. So,
Wow.
yeah. Again, it just seems like, and not just Evolve, it just seems like it's just never-ending stream of new innovative ideas. Things that weren't leveraged are now leveraged. Things that are leveraged. Well, Qt's a good example. Things that they already had leveraged that were now unleveraged. So you can see companies like Evolve and all of them are starting to fill in the gaps so that they can basically hit the spectrum of any investor in the income space, right? And again, these guys make ETFs that are not just income. They make growth investment ETFs as well. But again, you and I, we're an income space, so that's what we talk about. But I think what's really cool, and you're seeing it happen from Evolve, Harvest, Hamilton, and all of them, they're exploding in the number of ETFs they're putting out because they really want to give you a whole box of Legos so that if you're a conservative investor, you have more Lego blocks that fit what you're building. If you're a conservative investor, look, now I've got, I was never going to buy anything from Evolve because they, the ones that I'm interested in, for example, utilities has leverage. I don't buy leverage. Okay, let's put in a product that doesn't have leverage so that we can give that Lego block to the conservative investor, right? So,
Yeah, well, and I think with their advisory space, there's certain funds that advisors are not allowed to recommend,
right,
right? And possibly leverage might be one of the
right,
one of the barriers for them. So an unleveraged one would be important. And just so everybody knows, guys, all of these companies have like two people who sit in a room, and I think they're inside sales. You can call, for example, Harvest, and there's two guys there that just answer the phones and answer your questions. So, for example, if you feel like there's a product that's missing, something you would like to see them do, call them and let them know. Because the more people that, if just, one or two of us say, hey, can you do this? They're not likely going to do it. But if they get flooded with phone calls asking them for something, so guys, call Hamilton, tell them you want to put all the day max togethers for Paul.
For Paul.
You know what I'm wondering, Perry, is who's going to be the next Canadian, fund manager, ETF provider to come out with a zero DTE series? Or is Hamilton going to be the only one?
Well, because Hamilton did it in a unique way, right? There are no zero DTE Canadian investments. What they did is they wrapped up a Canadian a consolidation of holdings, and then they put the NASDAQ or the S&P, and they're putting the zero DTE on that. So technically, I mean, it's creative. I'll give them a lot of credit. It's very creative, but it's not the true zero DTE that you see in the States. It's zero DTE on an index, and then they put some Canadian stuff in it so that it sort of gives you both. Exactly. Great. I love the day series for sure. It'd be, again, none of their problem. It's more the fact that the Canadian market just can't, there's no zero DTE for them, right? So the space is not large enough for it. So, but yeah, I don't think many people are going to go and chase after that zero DTE because that's the only way you can really do it, right? In my opinion, that's what I'm thinking, right? I think there's going to be a lot more because really there's an attraction. I think there's going to be more semi-monthlies. That are going to show up. More people are going to start gravitating to the semi-monthlies. There's some holdouts saying we can't see the difference between our semi-monthlies and our monthlies. But again, if you're going to be in a competitive marketplace and you have two ETFs, I'll give you a good example, INTI versus HHII, other than the fact that one's higher yielding, but even if they were equal yielding, you then sort of turn around and say, well, there's one check mark one has that the other doesn't have. It might be enough just to move you in that one direction. Again, maybe or maybe not. So,
ironically, there are people though who like the monthly.
Yeah.
There are. I think I remember reading a comment on Adriano's Facebook page where somebody asked about maybe it was ECHI and 9 points switching to semi-monthly, and they prefer monthly. I do like the semi-monthly, Perry, but it's not a big.
It's not a huge sale. I mean, the only thing I like about it is the granularity of distributions. Again, if you're the kind where there's a great market crash happens on, the 17th, but you already reinvested everything on the 1st, and you just don't have any cash flow. It's those kind of opportunities on the reinvestment strategy where the more granular semi-monthly it benefits. If you're the kind of person that says, no, I don't worry about it. Okay, I missed a good market crash and it recovered before the end of the month. I don't care, right? Again, it all depends on what you are. I'll tell you right now, administratively, it's nicer just to do monthlies because I track all my investments, so it's a real pain in the rear end having to track semi-monthlies, more so weeklies.
Wait till they figure out how to do weekly in Canada.
And again, it's not them that's holding back. It's the clearinghouse that pays out the distributions, that acts as the clearinghouse. They're the ones holding back the ability to do weeklies in Canada, right? So now, otherwise they would have already done it. Some of them would have already done it, right? So that was the 6th. So on the 7th was the big PI event. And that was the one that's why I flew into Toronto, especially for that, even though we had a beautiful filled week. It was really good. We had, first of all, we got a surprise pre-event invite. It was because of you. I was on your coattail on that one.
We got a shout out to Bert because Bert's the one who asked me if I was going. And I'm like, going where?
Going where,
and he mentioned how we were invited to I think it was called the King's Cap on King Street West, which was a great restaurant. And Camille from Adriano's Facebook group, he had organized it. I guess he knows the owner of the restaurant. And so they had a little pre-event with some hors d'oeuvres and free drinks. It was fantastic.
It was lovely.
And as far as Perry flew in from Winnipeg, there was a gentleman there who rode his motorcycle from BC.
Yeah. yeah. He had nothing on me on that one. So, yeah.
You had nothing on him.
Or I had nothing on him on that one. Yeah, exactly. Because, he beat us on that one.
That was nice to meet some people from Adriano's Facebook group that I've seen their names. Like Frankie Says Relax is one of them. I've seen his name probably for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I think he retired at 48 or 49.
Yeah.
This passive income investing is terrible. He makes more money now than he made working. He pays less taxes, and couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Well, and I found, so we talk about the personalities. So BlossomCon was a lot more about, like the questions that I got, and maybe you got, I got a lot more basic questions in the BlossomCon. I got like, how are you doing that with the riff, and how are you, those kind of things. But what I found at that pre-event as well, because I wasn't part of the Adriano's Facebook page and that group like you are, so I got to meet people that I've never met before. You knew the names, I didn't know almost any of them. But what I found interesting about that, as well as the Pi event, was the level of more advanced topics showed up at the pre-Pi and at Adriano and Erica's Pi event. The topics were a lot more in depth, a lot more like, even I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing that. So like talking about tax strategies, like really advanced tax strategies to try to bring your taxes paid nearer to zero. Doing a mortgaging, borrowing money, and then to switch it in and out, and a whole bunch of stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I couldn't even participate in many of that, because it's like, hey, all my stuff's in my sheltered accounts. They pay me. Could I do something with it? Sure, but I'm more of now. This is where I become the passive lazy investor. And it's like, I can't focus on that. But I was amazed how many people really were into real, more in-depth tax strategies and stuff.
Well, the one gentleman I was talking to, he was asking me about the Clarity Act and how that affected my investing and what I thought about it. And I guess I'm a lazy investor like you, Perry, because I haven't really considered it. And have you thought about this Clarity Act and how?
I mean, you can only consider what it might do for you. You have no say in it. And no, that Clarity Act is still not it's still an act. It's not a law. I mean, they're constantly trying to. I'm assuming one version of it or not is going to pass as a law, as long as the Republicans own all three parts of the House of the government. We'll see. We'll see if it does. But if it does, what more can I do? I'm not going to exit the Bitcoin strategy right now. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm an income investor. But no, I know it's going to change the way Bitcoin and crypto operates. More into the mainstream, right? So
he was sitting on 50% cash. It seemed almost as though like the Clarity Act was going to do something to maybe devalue the dollar more, the banking system, and the market would crash, and this would maybe be a buying opportunity, or I'm not sure. But anyways,
so I'm sort of doing that already without knowing it. I'm sitting on cash.
Not 50%. Imagine 50%.
No, 50% is crazy. I
think he had a little over $500,000 in cash.
Yeah. Like to me, that's a lot of wasted, like, again, as an income or a growth investor, that's a lot of money sitting on the side in anticipation of something that may or may not come. Like, and when you do, you won't even know the ramifications of it. So again, he must really think something big is going to happen if he's sitting on that much cash. So
that's the thing, right? At some point in time, maybe something big will happen. But I know from watching Adriano for years now, he always focuses on the fact that there's always going to be news, right? There's always going to be a war, bad news, politics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And just stop focusing on it. There's no point in paying attention to it. It's almost like the news channels, the media channels, they just do it for views, right? They're just doing it to get people to watch their show. And like you said, I think disaster or bad things tend to draw in more views, right? So But
So,
yeah, I don't know if it's worth worrying about it
well,
that
I wouldn't
much.
put that much. I wouldn't put that much emphasis in my portfolio on anticipating something like that. Like I said, I'm at 5%, and I think 5% is more than ample. And again, not for fear. Again, some people do it for fear. I'm not doing it for fear. I'm doing it because I want at least some dry powder so that if a big boy happens like that, and let's say bank drops back down to $7 or $8, I know the history of banks. So again, if something like bank or 60 dropped significantly, I'd be buying. I wanted to have the money to buy in a large position in it or some of the others. You know what I mean. That's the only
Yeah.
thing. I could never consider anything beyond 5%. That like reinvesting is a key pillar of the income strategy as a whole, right? So to put it on pause to the point of basically not reinvesting at all is really what is happening. I just
Yeah.
couldn't do that, right?
All
Yeah.
right, Perry. So, what did you think of the first annual PI event?
I thought it was fantastic because first of all, and kudos to Erica and Adriano for coming up and putting the effort in it. This was a
Yeah.
lot of effort. The sponsors funded, I think, pretty much all of it, if not most of it. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but it took a lot of effort on their time, on their part, to get this to going. And to have an event that's all was exclusively focused on income investing was, again, as an income investor, it was literally, BlossomCon is cool, but it's about everything. This was great because it was all focused on income investing, and
Yeah.
and for them to pull in all the major players that they could already think of, like BMO, Brompton, Harvest, Evolve, Hamilton. They were all there, and basically to get all their perspectives. It wasn't more of a personal, like Adrian did ask some tough questions. I know the one with BMO was one of the toughest ones. I feel sorry for her for having to answer that one, but because
Yeah.
again, it goes against the grain of a lot of what the DIY investors believe in. But still, give them credit for asking, and give her credit for actually doing a good job trying to explain their position.
Yeah.
But I found it really fascinating to actually not the presentations, but actually having more one-on-ones. I talked a lot in more detail with the co-CEOs of Hamilton and with the Evolve team and with those guys on one-on-ones. And the 9 Point was there too.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. It was all about income. It was all about that environment. So I thought it was great. Very well hosted with the hors d'oeuvres and the cash bar, and it was a beautiful event. Kudos to the two of them for a well hosted event.
Yeah. No, it was a great event, and I mean, Blossom Con does provide an opportunity for people like Carl from 9 Points and Chris Cullen from Brompton to speak to people. But most of the time, these people who work for these fund companies, they don't really know who actually buys their products, right? They
Right.
don't meet with them.
Right.
They don't know the investors. You and I get more of an opportunity to talk to people who are invested like we are than they do.
Right.
So for them to get out and actually meet with people and have people, I remember this one gentleman, I think Dan from London, he was telling Carl how he thinks C-Day is the absolute perfect ETF. And he explained it. And afterwards, Vern, did I say Carl? Vern,
Yeah.
Vern from Hamilton said to him, everything you just said to me is what I tell the advisors who are going to go and sell our products to their clients. Like, that's how well this guy knew
Right.
the ETF C-Day
Yeah.
and how much it meant to him, you know what I mean? And his investing. And
Well,
I think it's pretty cool for all of us to be there and interact together like that. But it was still a small group, right?
yeah.
I think they only sold 100 tickets.
Yeah, so maybe 150 when you have all the vendors there as well. But yeah, you nailed it. That was actually a good call on that one. What I heard from several people from the representing the various companies was the unique opportunity for them to actually have direct communications with the end user, the client that actually is paying for the investments of their ETFs that they sell. It's always done, behind the scenes. You go to the exchange, you buy the cover call ETFs off the exchange. They never really do any, there's no front store for them to actually hear what people are concerned about, what they're excited about, what they love, what they hate. So all the cover call ETF companies that I talked to said the same thing. They loved that they could actually talk to an actual person that holds ENCL, or a person that holds HDIV, and the things that they didn't like, what they would really like to see, and why aren't you doing that? So it's a rare opportunity. I would say it was more valuable for the ETF companies than it was even for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It was great, and I hope that they definitely start planning another one. I don't know if it'll be in Toronto again or if they'll try to do it somewhere else. Yeah. But if they do another one, I plan on being there.
Yeah. Again, I feel bad for Adriano and Erica, because again, they didn't have to worry about it because they already sold their 100 tickets and stuff. So it's not as if they lost sales because of BlossomCon moving away from them. But it sure was disappointing that Blossom, and again, not Blossom's fault either. It was Rogers Center that screwed everyone over and moved BlossomCon away 2 weeks earlier. But it sure would have been a beautiful meshing of the PI event on Friday and then the Blossom event on Saturday. That would have been good. Again, it was nobody's fault but Rogers Center for doing it. But I'm hoping next time that they try again and try to put the two side by side. I think that would have been really nice, right?
I think for like you and I, we probably ended up being able to do more things because you were out for 2 weeks, right?
Yes,
true.
We
had a couple of meet and greets. We got to do a couple of things with Harvest. You got to do something with Evolve, and then we got to do something with Hamilton. And you know what I mean? I don't know if we would have been able to do as much.
No, because we actually literally got 2 weeks for the price of one. We filled up 2 weeks worth of events. So for the average DIY investor, the DIY investor would not have. They would have turned around and said, "Yeah, well, I'm only coming for PI and BlossomCon." But for you and me, we got 2 full weeks of tons of stuff that we got done on both weeks, like the first week and the second week. So it was great.
All right, Perry, we're going to wrap this up soon, but
it's getting hot. You know, we need another mojito here. It's getting hot here in Tahiti. So
other than your 5% cash position that you've been holding, waiting for, it's funny. You and I talked, I think, last year in December, maybe the beginning of January, where we talked about, is there going to be a pullback or a crash, a bear market this year?
Yeah.
And we're still waiting. It's almost September, which just goes to show it's not easy to predict these things, right?
No, it's just the markets, and I watch a lot of YouTube channels of experts in sectors. And again, right now the economy is literally messed up. Again, it's in bliss, even though all the things that are going around it should be bringing this market down. And it's almost like the market, the investors, I don't care. I don't care that, I just heard a new one saying that basically diesel is at critically low inventory levels, and diesel runs the world. If you don't have diesel, you don't have an economy, right? And yet, again, in total bliss that, whatever. So there's no diesel so that people can't get produce to stores and manufacturing. I don't know what it is. You can't. I still think the red flags are there. I know we had even a discussion with a Harvest team that says everything they're seeing on their radar shows that it's still a good time to invest. I personally have to say that I'm a little bit disagreeing in it, but I'm nobody. I just believe that there's too many red flags. So
I think what they were trying to say, or what Paul was trying to say, is that when you look at certain metrics, right?
Yeah.
And you look at it, say, a stock price, if it's trading at $100 a share, and that's so many multiples of their price to earnings. Well, as they have their quarterly earnings, they're actually meeting, you know what I mean? They're meeting expectations, and they're proving that the companies are actually worth what they're trading for. It's not just, not everything's not just overpriced.
Overhyped. That's what. Right? That's sort of what it was. It was not just their opinion. It was basically based on the metrics that are showing up. The metrics are sort of saying that, the markets, again, the markets are positive for a reason. And it's okay, I tend to be on maybe the negative Nelly side. So I see that there's storm clouds in the horizon. But hey, if I'm wrong, I basically lost out on a few months of income, right? I'll just then reinvest it
for sure. Did you want to briefly just quickly, not too long, Perry, but just quickly tell people how your income seems to have maintained itself despite the fact that you make your monthly withdrawals and you're not actually reinvesting as much as you used to.
Yeah, I'm going to do a video on that one because honestly, it was an unexpected eye opener for me. Because again, all the strategies I've talked about, they basically, everyone knows. I mean, it's not just me. We've talked about it all. The higher your yield is in income investing, the more you have to reinvest back. Like everyone's got different numbers and metrics on how much. I've got the LEPB buffer ratio that basically sort of says, hey, if you're at 35%, you should be almost putting 60% of your reinvested, your income generated back. And that it was the going in position. That was sort of like the decision that the recommendation people were saying, right? So again, I'm at 35% in that range, depending on the day, 35% yield on my entire portfolio. So I'm at a point where I would recommend to myself that I should be reinvesting 50 to 65% of my monthly generated income back, which that's what I did in 2025. Because whatever I didn't withdraw, I basically reinvested. But I put a pause on that, right? So as of February, I'm about 90% holding back. So I'm only likely reinvesting maybe about 10% into my portfolio on what I generate. The rest is going into cash reserve. So I just realized about June or July, it's like, hold on a second. Didn't I tell myself that I have to reinvest more in order to maintain my distributions? Well, here's the funny part. Since February, my average monthly income generated has been in the $30,000 to $34,000 range. In that range, some months are better or less. I've held back most of my reinvesting. And as of August 1, I was still generated, I can't remember the exact number, but it was about $32,000. So I have not seen what I thought should have happened by holding back reinvesting. My portfolio is still generating on average the same amount it was back in February after 6 months of not reinvesting 60% of my portfolio. Again,
Amazing.
Yeah, so great news, very eye-opening. I'm going to actually put metrics behind it to show you. Again, markets are markets, so it could be whatever it is. Maybe we're at the bottom and we haven't gone lower. You know what I mean? Like crypto's been in the 60, 65 range for a long time. So
Yep.
it could be that we just haven't gotten any worse, right? So maybe that's the reason why. And we've also had some good economy things like the banking and finance sector where, look at my 60, I bought it at 26 or whatever, and it's now at 32. So there have been the ones that went down, but then there was ones that came up and sort of countered it. So Again, it could be anything, but it was really good news for me as an eye-opener to see that my reinvesting is held back, and yet my portfolio is not eroding in monthly distributions. So
yeah, that's great. That's good news for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, Perry. So for myself, I'm getting pretty close to the end of my EI, right? I think I did it for a full year, 52 weeks or something like that. So what I've been doing is de-risking my portfolio.
Oh, okay.
So what I'm doing is I've been selling a few of my single stock ETFs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of reducing the number of juicers that I have, right? My ultra high yielders or my single stock ETFs.
Yeah.
And I've been moving that money into my boosters.
Oh, not your anchors.
So, not my anchors, into my boosters, because I want almost like a comparable yield.
Yeah.
But with less risk.
Right. With more of a composite underlying. Yeah.
Yes, right. So if I can sell a single stock ETF and buy an ETF that has 20 holdings like HHIS or 23 holdings like Biggie, now I'm not dependent on one company for the returns or for the results, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then with my distributions, I'm buying my anchors. I'm buying the lower yield.
You're reinvesting. Your reinvestments are okay. So you're rebalancing juicers to boosters, but you're reinvesting to anchors.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So
that's cool. I guess the only tricky part with that when you're doing the rebalancing is, having to maybe make some of those tough decisions on, is it worth it me taking the NAV loss, right? The capital, realizing the loss to do it.
So now that's a great point, Perry, because so what I've done is, for example, at one point my PLTE was negative about $5,000.
Right.
Because PLTE dropped down to $14 a share. Because everybody, well, PLTR, I guess at one point was trading something like 200 times earnings.
Right.
And people all of a sudden decided they didn't have faith in it anymore. It was overvalued,
right,
etc. So it dropped down, and I was negative $5,000. If I had sold it at that point, I would have realized a big loss.
Right.
Well, about 3 weeks ago, PLTE had their earnings report, maybe 2 weeks ago, and they had a really good earnings report. Within 2 days, PLTE went up from $14 to $20.
Right.
Right?
So you sold it at a gain.
It's all about timing, right? And patience. You don't. That's the great thing about being an income investor, is that I can just keep collecting those distributions until it's in my favor to do something, right? I don't have, nobody's forcing me to make a bad decision and sell an ETF at a bad time, right? And so look, isn't it funny though, Perry, how I went from being negative $5,000 to being in the green? And that's just share price. I'm not talking about the distributions.
Right.
Right? The distributions is all the money that I've made holding PLTE.
No. So you because you're an income investor, you're not in a rush to sell, because as long as you don't sell, you're still generating income. But if the opportunity, if you already know you want to rebalance and you're just waiting for the right trigger, you hold it until the opportunity prevails, and then you switch over at the time the opportunity shows up.
And what I did, I'll give one more example that I already made a video on, but I'll go over it one more time. Shopify also had a good report. And so SHPE from Harvest shot up, and it went above my average cost. At the same time, Reddit had an earnings call, and I think they had a good earnings call, but there was something right? There was one line in the earnings call that upset some people, and it tanked, right? So what I did was I quickly sold my Shopify position from Harvest. I moved all that money into RDDY from Harvest.
On that day, it went down.
Right? Under $5 a share.
$4.30 or something, $4.20. It was way down there.
I think I was picking it up around $4.80 or something like that. I didn't get it quite as early as you. I got it maybe the next week.
Oh, okay. And then it flew back up again because they went. I think they were added to the index.
Well, that was the funny thing. I made a video and somebody made a comment very politely. It wasn't a rude comment, but just that he thought I had too much faith in media companies, and that, it was a big mistake to sell my Shopify, put the money in RDDY, even though I was able to dollar cost average down a lot.
Big time for me, yeah.
And then as soon as they announced that Reddit was going in the S&P 500, within one day, RDDY went up 15-20%, something like that.
It's in the mid fives right now.
So I went from being in the red to being in the positive, and I got out of half my PLTE, all of my Shopify, all of my Reddit, all of them in the green. No losses, no realized losses.
So you were able to restructure through rebalancing, but at what was timing convenient for you.
You have to do it at the right time.
That's the thing is, as an income investor, you shouldn't be, as a growth investor, sure, you turn around and say, cut your losses because this may not ever come up. The thing is, with income investing, even RDDY at $6 and $5 is generating income for me every month. You know what?
It's still paying well.
It's still paying well. It's still paying that income. Again, that's the benefit of income. It's buy and hold. The only reason you don't hold and you sell is because you can find a better opportunity or you want to de-risk. But you're not doing it just because you're finally giving up on this potential of realizing capital gains. Only a growth investor sees that. An income investor sort of sets up until the opportunity is beneficial to me. I'm just going to just keep collecting the income, right? So
I moved the money into funds where the underlying holdings, for the most part, still have those ETFs, right? I still have exposure to Palantir, Shopify, Reddit, right? So I still technically own them all, but within a basket.
Exactly right. And that's what I've told you this in past Coffee Cash Flows, that I'm quite boring. Literally, I'm very boring this last several months with regards to investing. I haven't done much other than the rare ones like that RDDY drop that I took advantage of that. It's basically been buy and hold. I haven't been doing much reinvesting, so I can't even tell people, hey, I bought more of whatever, because I haven't been doing much of that. And I feel bad. I apologies for my followers and subscribers because of my dad's passing and the BlossomCon and the Pi event. I really have not made a real video in about 3 weeks. I'm hoping now that things are starting to settle, all those events are behind me, my dad's affairs are starting to get organized, that I'm going to start working on the videos back. And so I'm considering it like a vacation. So I'm hoping I'm going to get back on the game and starting to produce more videos. I have a few already in my mind. I already told you about a couple of them. And I want to get starting on that. Likely next week is when I'm going to really start focusing. So
all right, well,
yeah,
Perry, we're looking forward to those videos for sure.
Yeah, yours as well. Like, keep doing the interviews. People love those interviews, man. So
definitely. All right, Perry.
All right.
I think do you have a guess of how long we've been going?
I bet you an hour and a half, maybe more.
We're just over an hour and a half.
Hey, we did. Hey, people love it. It's a podcast. If you don't want to join us in Tahiti like this with our mojitos, you can at least just put your earbuds in and go for a long walk. So, all right,
guys. If you want, please like the video, guys. Leave us some comments down below. Yeah. Let us know some things you might want us to talk about in a couple of weeks from now when we do another coffee and cash flow. And I think next time we're going to have coffee with us.
Yeah, I got the coffee cup, but I don't have coffee in it. It's just water.
Hey, look, Perry, my buddy from my retirement trading, he sent me this mug, but how come I don't have a PIIverse mug yet?
I know. Yeah, I should have given you the little one when you were here.
There you go. Maybe I'll have to order one.
Yeah. Thank you very much if you do. So,
okay. Guys, check out Perry's channel for some of his merchandise.
My swag, my merch. So,
yeah.
All right, you guys, everybody, all our viewers and followers, thanks for sticking around and listening to some of what we were talking about. And until next time, you guys, have a safe time, and we'll talk to you next time.